It's May 2nd, 2009. He's almost 15 years old, and Real Madrid is hosting FC Barcelona, led by Pep Guardiola, at the Santiago Bernabeu. While we're far from the most beautiful White House in history, Barça is terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. The Spanish tactician has lined up a phenomenal starting 11. On paper, this match is crucial for the rest of the season, as it's the 34th match day, and Barça is only 4 points ahead of their opponent for the evening. But here's the thing. The match doesn't really happen as expected. Even though Gonzalo Higuain gives his team the perfect start with a well-placed header, the Blaugranas quickly turn the situation around and unleash their crushing dominance in this Catalan music festival, ending with a tennis-like scoreline. One man in particular shines brightly, delivering 4 assists to his teammates. A player you undoubtedly know because he's a genius, and also because he's the title of this video. His name is Xavi Hernandez. Now, where do we begin? With which move, which quality, or which superlative should we start this video about Xavi Hernandez, the brain behind the great Barça and the mighty Spain? A midfield maestro, absolutely marvelous. That's the first adjective. And trust me, it won't be the last, given the career, talent, and magic the Spaniard displayed on the football pitch. Like all the greatest, and he is undoubtedly among them, Xavi doesn't just play football. It's not his job. No, football is something he enjoys, embodies, and elevates. Everything seems so simple and effortless. Those slow-motion feints, those humiliating body feints, those otherworldly touches. This is a professional football match, yet it's a 1.7-meter tall guy dictating the tempo. The same could be said about his teammate who wears the number 10. But when these two start accelerating, the ball moves in every direction, and the football world stops spinning. What stands out about this Barça team with Iniesta, Messi, Busquets, and of course Xavi, is the simplicity of everything they do. It's all about quick 1-2s, heel flicks, and the optimal use of space, never overcomplicating things. This simplicity is both beautiful and devastating. The football they play is a masterclass in controlling space and time, making the right runs at the right moments, accelerating when necessary, and using their technical abilities with maximum efficiency. And when it comes to technical abilities, they have plenty, more than enough. First, there's the passing. Xavi excels at both short passes, which were the hallmark of that great Barça team, and long diagonal balls that perfectly switch the play. That diagonal pass to Dani Alves on the right flank, Xavi had it down to an art form, and the Brazilian thrived on it. Passing is one of the Spaniards' greatest strengths, a necessity for a deep-lying midfielder. But what about his first touch? That initial control I mentioned in a previous video. That's where we enter the realm of pure magic. It's the unexpected flick to create space, the move that makes the crowd rise to their feet because it's not quite a dribble, yet the defender is left beaten. It's the art of evading pressure, of staying calm under fire, a hallmark of Barcelona's philosophy. When the stadium heats up, Xavi's blood stays ice cold. His ability to read the play, rotate his body, protect the ball, and never lose possession is nothing short of extraordinary. This is the very, very highest level of football. As we've said, Xavi controlled the tempo of the game, but not just for defensive purposes or in a sterile, possession-based system. The Spaniard was always aware of everything happening on the pitch, knowing exactly when to accelerate, when to find the best possible opening, and when to take offensive risks to push his team forward. A deep-lying midfielder must relay the ball, transitioning it from defense to attack, and Xavi did this flawlessly throughout his career. Of course, there's so much to say about Xavi, his impeccable timing, his control, his passing, his shooting, but all of that is just the tip of the iceberg, the part we see and admire. However, there's so much more to his game. Away from the ball, Xavi also shines with his tactical intelligence. He can control a match without even getting his boots dirty. Xavi is constantly analyzing the game, moving intelligently and understanding what he needs to do individually to achieve collective success. You can see this in the first action during a Barça match. He draws the press toward him because he knows Messi is nearby. By moving toward the ball carrier, in this case Mascherano, he creates space to find the Argentine. Even in the follow-up, when the pitch is crowded with opponents, Xavi is the first to recover the ball lost by Messi. He simply understood, faster than anyone else, where the ball would land. In another situation, during a counterattack, Xavi glances at Messi and immediately makes a run to draw defenders away, leaving La Pulga, Messi, free to do what he does best. Yes, these are small details, interpretations, subtle body movements, sometimes even instinctive, but they also highlight Xavi's exceptional analytical quality and why he was nicknamed the Brain. Football is played with and without the ball, and the Spaniard understood this better than anyone. Today, we're in Catalonia, Barcelona, to revisit the career of a unique player, one who has been tied to Barça since his earliest childhood. Xavi's story with Barça dates back over 30 years. It's 1991, and a young Xavi Hernandez arrives at La Masia. His father, Joaquin, was also a footballer, playing in the Spanish third division, so his son's path seemed predestined. Xavi quickly earned the captain's armband in the youth teams and quietly established himself in the reserve team. This is Xavi in 1998 on the Barcelona Metro. No, wait, that's me. But this is definitely Xavi on the Barcelona Metro during a TV report about his promotion to the first team. At 18, Xavi's humility, simplicity, and determination to succeed at Barça shine through the screen. His time is coming. In the weeks following the report, he makes his official debut as a substitute against Mallorca in the Spanish Super Cup. This marks his first official appearance, several months before Carles Puyol, despite being older than Xavi. The story begins beautifully, as the Spaniard scores in his first match and earns the full trust of his coach, Louis van Gaal, who gives him regular playing time. Barça becomes Spanish champions. Xavi is the revelation of the year, and he also wins the U20 World Cup, starting in the final just before moving up to the senior team. The midfielder is still very young, but whether it's with his club or the national team, it's clear that the Spaniard has something special in his organization, his mastery of the game, and his role as a midfield regulator. Barça is in a transitional phase at the time, with the departures of Figo, Guardiola, and Zidane. Xavi became an undisputed starter starting from the 2001 to 2002 season, even though the club was struggling to find its footing amidst financial issues and the ongoing search for a true playing identity. The number 6 was always present, adapting to various midfield roles as needed by the coach, whether as a defensive midfielder, a deep-lying playmaker, or even out wide. Xavi's ability to read the game so well allowed him to be deployed in multiple positions, with adjustments made seamlessly during matches. By 2003, Barça began its major restructuring. The constant managerial changes finally came to an end, and Frank Rijkaard settled firmly on the bench, making Xavi his metronome, the orchestrator of Barça's play. Xavi became the most utilized player in the 2004 season, featuring in 50 matches. The choice of other midfielders, however, was less clear-cut, with Iniesta, Cocu, Davids, Enrique, Mata, and Gabri all in the mix. The hierarchy around Xavi wasn't yet fully established, but Barça was improving, finishing second in La Liga. The rise of Andres Iniesta, whose name would become inseparable from Xavi's, allowed the Blaugranas to develop a more attractive and, most importantly, winning style of play. The brain on one side, the genius on the other. A small nod to Max's video on the subject. Everything was going well for Barça, with the magicians leading the way. In terms of collective success, we know what followed. The Blaugranas won the 2006 Champions League, achieved the historic sextuple in 2009 with a third Champions League title, and Spain quietly established its dynasty. What truly interests us here is Xavi, so let's dive into some key highlights from his career during this era of Blaugrana and Spanish dominance. Okay, maybe we don't say it like that, but you know what I mean. Xavi didn't play in the 2006 Champions League final because he was recovering from a knee injury, so he watched Barça's victory from the bench. Xavi was named the best player of Euro 2008, scoring the opening goal in the semi-final against Russia, and, more broadly, being absolutely brilliant throughout the entire tournament. In 2009, Barça achieved the famous sextuple, with major trophies like La Liga and, most notably, the Champions League. Xavi was the top assist provider in both competitions, delivering 20 assists in La Liga and 7 in the Champions League, totaling 35 assists by the end of the season. That's right, Mr. Xavi Hernandez himself. For context, 35 assists in a single season is a record that even Kevin De Bruyne and Thomas Müller haven't surpassed. Only Mesut Ozil matched this mark in 2012. In 2010, during Spain's World Cup winning campaign, Xavi was named man of the match against Portugal in the round of 16 and against Germany in the semi-final. He was always present in the biggest games, even in the Euro 2012 final, where he delivered a stunning assist for Pedro. From 2008 to 2012, Xavi was absolutely phenomenal, finishing on the Ballon d'Or podium 3 times. Yet he was always in the shadows, with the spotlight shining on others. That's just how it was for him. By the way, for those interested, there are compilations of Xavi's matches available on YouTube, each lasting roughly 5 to 10 minutes. These clips showcase the efficiency of everything he did on the pitch. The Spaniard also had a knack for scoring, quietly netting 120 goals in his career, some of which are definitely worth watching. We left off in 2011 during that Champions League final, but Xavi continued to shine in Europe for a few more years. While Spain went on to win a second consecutive European championship, and Barça kept piling up league titles, Xavi's story with Barcelona was destined to end in the most beautiful way. At 35 years old, the Spaniard was still part of Luis Enrique's rotation, sometimes starting, sometimes coming off the bench, and he made the most of his final season to win one last Champions League. Coming on as a substitute against Juventus, Xavi closed out his Blaugrana adventure by adding 2 more big ears, Champions League trophies, to his collection. His trophy cabinet was already overflowing, and this marked his final match in Barça colors. At the time, Xavi held the record for the most Champions League appearances of all time, the most appearances for Barça, and the most caps for Spain, just behind Casillas. In short, he was a factory of trophies, records, and unforgettable moments. Everything that defines the greatest players in our sport. It was June 3rd, 2015, and instead of leaving you with Xavi's emotional farewell speech at Camp Nou, which was already heart-wrenching enough, let's focus on the tribute paid by his closest teammate. After his time at Barça, Xavi's career continued in Qatar, where he played out his final years with ease, transitioning from his beloved midfield role to becoming the coach of the same club, Al Sadd. The Spaniard hung up his boots but picked up a new hat, one that would eventually bring him back to Catalonia. Today, as the rising coach of Barça, Xavi's influence is starting to show, and it promises exciting things for the future. We've reached the end of this episode, and we've covered Xavi's time at Barça fairly quickly since we already know the collective achievements. The goal here was to highlight his individual brilliance, and with Xavi, there was no shortage of it. Every time he stepped onto the pitch, he dazzled with his vision, his precise passing, and his ability to dictate the game. Xavi grew up with the ideas instilled at La Masia, learning how the club developed both the playing style and the physicality of its players. He absorbed those lessons, elevated them, and passed them on. Xavi wasn't just part of the Catalan system, he was the system. He was the regulator, the creator, the recycler. He could do what Busquets did, and he could also play like Iniesta. He could score beautiful goals from outside the box and deliver stunning assists from deep. His spectacle lasted nearly 20 years and spanned 1,070 professional matches. Longevity was yet another one of his many qualities. We all know the phrase, and I'll say it again. Everything he did seemed so simple, yet we know it was incredibly complex. With the ball at his feet, Xavi's ability to control and circulate possession was almost hypnotic. Watching just a few of his moves, you wouldn't imagine that a highlight reel could easily stretch to 20 or 30 minutes. If football were a science, Xavi would have already discovered the formula, the one that allows you to play and communicate intelligently with every corner of the pitch. The Spaniard shone not only because of his natural talent, his effortless control, his feints, his flicks, but also because of his movement and his unparalleled understanding of the game. He illuminated Barcelona's play with his intelligence and his ability to see what others couldn't. Xavi wasn't very tall, yet he saw everything. Some even dared to compare him to a chameleon for this very reason. His vision of the game was absolutely insane. The speed at which he made decisions and executed them technically to achieve a positive outcome for his team was simply extraordinary. Sure, you might wonder why opponents didn't just shoulder barge him off the ball. Well, because it was impossible. Xavi read the game so well and had that signature move, the pelopina, a spinning turn with the ball glued to his feet. Many tried to stop him, but very few succeeded. Most ended up looking like this. X. Without a doubt, Xavi is one of the most intelligent players in history. A midfielder absolutely unique in his style. Classy, refined, and understated. He's an artist who was never truly decorated individually, but the Spaniard is one of the rare players to have won everything collectively. He played a vital role in every major occasion and will be remembered as one of, if not the, leader of one of the most dominant teams and national squads in history. So why keep searching for the next Xavi? As Cesc Fabregas perfectly put it, there will never be another one. We said the superlatives would rain down in this episode, and in Catalonia, where the sun reigns supreme, it seems we were right. It's pouring, and it's pouring heavily.